Hello again, everyone. This is Dan the Man. I've been a big fan of Telltale games, or more accurately, their recent brand of episodic series that started with The Walking Dead the game. There's such an awesome blend of interactive series and adventure games, and it's revived the genre I've loved since I was Dan the Teen. So I thought I would give my thoughts on the two latest games to be announced from Telltale Games, Batman and The Walking Dead the Game Season 3. Batman's a game I'm hugely looking forward to. For some reason, when Telltale first started doing these types of games, I immediately thought that Batman was a franchise they should do it with. I'm not sure why, but something about the storytelling style, their more darker take on games, and the Batman universe seemed like a natural fit for Telltale. The screenshots have been released and they look amazing. Telltale has said their goal is to make it look like a moving comic book. The trailers not show much actual gameplay, or any really, so I don't know about the moving, although if Wolf Among Us and The Walking Dead are any indication, they'll handle that part just fine. But the visuals look great, and the screenshots that have been released definitely look very much true with the comic book style while adding their own take to it. Telltale said you'll be playing heavily as both Bruce Wayne and Batman. That's not a huge surprise, given Telltale games rely more on dialogue and choices rather than heavy action scenes. But it's unique for a Batman game to give that kind of focus to Bruce Wayne. And Bruce Wayne is a big part of Batman's character, and one often overlooked even in the comic books at times, and most definitely in the video games. So I think Telltale should provide some interesting moments delving into the Bruce Wayne character. It'll also be interesting to see how they tackle Batman. One of Telltale's biggest appeals is that the choices you make can shape how the character behaves and how he advances in the story. While Telltale games have always been based on existing franchises, most of their games revolve around original characters within that franchise's world. Playing as a well-established character, it'll be interesting to see how they cover that. Sure, with Wolf Among Us you played as an established character in Bigby, but he didn't have near the iconic status or well-covered history as Batman did. So it'll be interesting to see how Telltale handles a character that likely came with more restrictions on what could and couldn't be done with him. The big news about this series is that Telltale plans to have the first full season out by the end of 2016. Given we're already halfway through 2016, that's definitely a tall order. Telltale's been late before, so we'll see if they can pull off this deadline. It definitely sounds like we won't get another incident like with The Wolf Among Us, where we waited around 5 months between episode 1 and 2. But their games have been known to have some minor, but slightly annoying bugs if rushed out too fast, so we'll see how they do with that. They have promised to update the game engine, so hopefully that'll prove in well with the bugs and with helping them run better. The one positive to their plan is that Michonne did come out monthly. They also have fewer episodes to deal with in that series, but it is a good sign that Telltale has started fine-tuning their schedule and their release dates. But the big news to come out recently from Telltale is that they've released a trailer for the highly anticipated Walking Dead Season 3. Like most early trailers, it didn't really show us much, but it did show us Clementine will still be the main character of the game, and that she's clearly grown up to a full-fledged teenager now. Clearly, there is obviously going to be a time skip, just like they had with Season 2. She also doesn't look to have had a good time, if her missing finger is any indication. It'll be interesting to see if your choices will give her that outcome or not. Telltale's actually said there will be 2 controllable characters in this game, with the player alternating between them, much like Tales from the Borderlands and Game of Thrones had you controlling multiple different characters. Not much has been revealed about the new controllable character, but we do know his name is Javier, and he's the guy seen with Clementine in the trailer. He and Clem seem familiar with each other in this trailer, so it'll be interesting to find out how the two came to know each other. Telltale has also hinted that the game will now be officially caught up with the comic book series, and will have some connections to the comic. This is something they haven't done since Herschel and Glenn's cameo in the first episode of Season 1. Maybe there'll even be some connections between the Michonne game and The Walking Dead Season 3, which would be cool. They're also addressing the biggest concern and questions most have had since the final episode of Season 2, the multiple endings. As anyone who played Season 2 can tell you, the game had a first for Telltale in that it had multiple endings, which depending on your choices left Clementine in very different places at the conclusion of the series. Endings that determined both the fate of 2 major characters, as well as where you ended up in the end of the game and who you ended up with. The dramatically different endings left fans wondering how Telltale would deal with seemingly starting Season 3 in much different places, depending on the choices you made in Season 2. Some fans were worried Telltale would likely take the easy way out and simply pick an ending and call it the canon ending. This seemed unlikely, though, because while it was an easy way to work around it, it was basically punishing players who didn't make the same choices in their game, which went against the entire point of Telltale games, which is your choices dictating the story. Others have speculated that they'll simply start with different beginnings, but quickly have Clementine separated from the people she ended up with and arrive at a common point and move the story forward from there. Telltale has not denied going the later route, but has acknowledged that that would be the easy way out, implying they will take a different approach. I think they'll go somewhere in between in their approach myself. Obviously, they can't have each chapter tell 5 different stories, or not practically, as it would mean programming something like 5 different games. I think it will likely have you start at your current ending point from the Season 2 and go on to a similar destination, hopefully with one or more characters in tow from wherever you ended up, such as Kenny still being with you if you ended up with Kenny, or Jane still being with you if you ended up with Jane, or Clem being alone with AJ if you ended up taking yourself to that route with your choices. But basically, going to the same general direction, just with an extra character or two in tow, depending on how you ended up last time. If they do this, those characters will likely die early on, just like the characters you had a chance to save in the first 2 seasons, but then they would die an episode or 2 later. This would make your decisions in Season 2 still feel relevant, but not force the creators to have to tell multiple and completely different stories. Either way, I can't wait for these games to come out. Despite some criticism of Telltale making basically the same game with a different story each time, and some arguing it has become more clear your decisions have minimal effect on the actual outcome, Telltale, true to their name, tells great stories, and I can't wait to see how these great characters and these great worlds are explored in the new games. And let's be honest, Walking Dead Season 3 can't possibly disappoint as much as Fear the Walking Dead has this season.